My wife hid protection in her bag. I exposed her affair and refused her. You're a daddy lie. Sometimes revenge smells unforgettable. You know that moment when you're digging through your wife's purse for car keys and find a bottle of Viagra that definitely isn't yours? Yeah, that was my Tuesday morning, right next to her lip gloss and a box of rubbers, the expensive kind she claimed we couldn't afford when I suggested we spice things up last month. Apparently, my wife Sarah needs more than just her morning latte to get through a Thursday. And here I thought she was allergic to latex. Turns out she's just allergic to using it with me. I'm Jake, 36 years old, and I fix computers for a living. Not exactly the kind of job that gets panties dropping, but it pays the bills in our little Maine town. Sarah works in medical sales, all charm and fake smiles, climbing that corporate ladder like her life depends on it. Maybe it does. Standing in our kitchen, holding evidence of my wife's extracurricular activities, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak, something sharper, more calculating. Most guys would have stormed into her office, made a scene, demanded hysterics. But I've always been the quiet type, the one who thinks 3 moves ahead. So instead of confronting her, I got creative. First, I swapped every single Viagra pill with extra-strength laxatives, same blue color, nearly identical shape. Then I took a needle and poked the tiniest holes in each rubber wrapper. Not obvious damage, just enough to make them unreliable. Sarah came home that evening, all smiles, kissing my cheek like nothing had changed. "How was your day, honey?" "Same old routine," I said, watching her face for any sign of guilt. Nothing. She was good. I'll give her that. Over dinner, she mentioned working late again. Big presentation coming up. Might need to stay overnight at that conference hotel downtown. "Which hotel?" I asked casually. "The Pineview Motor Inn. You know that place by the highway, the Pineview, a dive motel that charges by the hour. Real classy, Sarah." That night, while she slept, I slipped an AirTag under her car seat. Technology has its perks when you know how to use it. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a location notification. Sarah's car was parked at the Pineview at 2 p.m. on a Thursday during her supposed work hours. I drove over, parked across the lot behind a delivery truck, and watched. 20 minutes later, Sarah emerged from room 12, adjusting her hair. Behind her walked Derek, a muscle-bound guy from her office I'd met at last year's Christmas party. He was all swagger and protein shakes, the kind of guy who calls everyone buddy and flexes when he laughs. I watched them kiss goodbye. Not a peck on the cheek, but the kind of kiss that left no doubt about what they'd been doing in that room. Sarah was wearing the black lingerie set I bought her for our anniversary, the one she claimed was too fancy for every day. My phone camera captured everything, timestamps, location data, their faces clear as day. But pictures weren't enough. I needed more. I texted Derek's number, found it in Sarah's phone contacts listed under D from accounting, and got his voicemail. Deep voice, cocky tone. This was going to be fun. The next week, I called in sick and set up real surveillance. Not some movie nonsense. I rented a car, bought binoculars, and learned their schedule. Every Tuesday and Thursday, same routine. Sarah would text me about working late, then meet Derek at the Pineview. On Thursday, I positioned myself in the room next to theirs. The walls were thin. You could hear everything, and what I heard made my blood boil. Her husband's such a pushover, Derek's voice carried through the wall. Sarah says he barely touches her anymore. Poor guy has no idea what he's missing. Sarah's laugh was like broken glass. Jake's sweet, but he's so safe, predictable. He thinks romance is bringing me coffee in bed. What he doesn't know won't hurt him. Derek said that's where he was wrong. I spent the next hour listening to them mock my marriage, my job, even the way I dressed. Every word was another nail in their coffin. When they finally left, I made my move. Derek's black BMW was parked under a security light, pristine and perfect. I loosened all 4 tire valve caps until they were barely holding air, then squeezed an entire can of sardine juice into his air conditioning vents. The smell would take weeks to get out. Sarah came home that evening complaining about stomach cramps. "I think I'm getting the flu," she moaned, rushing to the bathroom for the 3rd time in an hour. "Poor baby," I said, handing her a glass of water. "Maybe you should take it easy tomorrow." The next morning, I got a call from my old gym buddy, Mike. "Dude, you gotta hear this. That Derek guy from your wife's work had an accident during his workout yesterday. Explosive diarrhea right in the middle of his squat PR. Had to shut down that section of the gym for cleaning." I nearly choked on my coffee. No kidding. Security footage is already making the rounds. Guy's a legend now, and not in a good way. Phase 1 was working perfectly, but I wasn't done. Not even close. 2 weeks later, Sarah came home pale and shaking. She sat me down at our kitchen table, tears streaming down her face. "Jake, I need to tell you something," she whispered. "I'm pregnant." I felt my heart stop. "Pregnant?" She nodded, grabbing my hands. "It's yours. It has to be yours. I swear on my mother's grave it's yours." Funny thing about timing. I'd been keeping track of our intimate moments, all 0 of them, in the past 2 months. But I played dumb. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Of course I'm sure. We've been trying, remember?" We hadn't been trying. We'd barely been talking. "When did this happen?" She stammered through some story about miscounting her cycle, about how we'd been so busy she forgot when we'd last been together. Every word was a lie, and we both knew it. That night, while Sarah slept fitfully beside me, I planned my next move. I'd given them laxatives and car trouble. Now it was time to get serious. I started with Derek's job. A little research revealed that his company had strict policies about workplace relationships. An anonymous tip to HR, complete with screenshots from Sarah's phone, which I'd accessed using Face ID while she slept, got the ball rolling. Within days, Derek was called into a disciplinary meeting. His boss wasn't happy about the office romance, especially when it involved married employees. But Derek wasn't my only target. Sarah's best friend Jenny had been enabling this affair, covering for Sarah's work trips and late meetings. Time to turn her into an asset. I cornered Jenny at the coffee shop where she worked, sliding into the booth across from her during her break. "We need to talk," I said. Her face went white. "Jake, what are you doing here?" "I know about Sarah and Derek," I said quietly. "The question is, how long have you been helping them lie to me?" Jenny's coffee cup rattled against the table. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone, showing her the photo of Sarah and Derek kissing outside the motel. 3 months, Jenny. 3 months you've been covering for her while she makes a fool out of me. Jake, Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to tell me everything. Every lie you helped create, every alibi you provided. Or I send this photo to everyone in Sarah's contact list, including her boss and her parents. Jenny broke down through tears. She confessed everything. The fake girls' nights, the elaborate stories about work conferences, even helping Sarah pick out lingerie for her dates. "She said you two were having problems," Jenny sobbed. "She said you didn't love her anymore." "Did she mention she's pregnant?" I asked. Jenny's eyes went wide. "What?" "Claims it's mine. What do you think?" The truth hit her like a sledgehammer. Oh God, Jake, I'm so sorry. I left Jenny with a warning. Stop covering for Sarah or become collateral damage in what was coming next. That weekend, I escalated things. Derek's apartment complex had rules about noise complaints and property damage. A few anonymous calls about loud music and the persistent smell of rotting fish got the landlord's attention. When they investigated Derek's car, still reeking of sardines, and found evidence of the affair I'd strategically placed, they started eviction proceedings. Sarah was unraveling. The pregnancy scare, Derek's problems at work, the constant stomach issues from my laxative replacements. It was all catching up with her. "Something's wrong," she confessed over dinner one night. "Derek's been acting strange. His car smells terrible. He's having problems at work and he's barely talking to me. Maybe he's stressed," I suggested helpfully. "Workplace relationships can be complicated." She looked at me sharply. "What do you mean?" "Nothing specific. Just that mixing business with pleasure rarely ends well." That night, Sarah confronted me directly. She stood in our bedroom doorway, mascara streaked down her cheeks, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "You did this, didn't you?" she whispered. "The stomach problems, Derek's car, everything. Why?" I could have kept playing dumb. Could have denied everything. Instead, I smiled. "Was it something I said, or something you did in room 12 of the Pineview Motor Inn?" Her face crumbled. "How long have you known?" "Long enough to get creative." She dropped to her knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Jake. It didn't mean anything. It was just..." "Just what? Just fun? Just excitement? Just something to do while your boring husband paid the bills?" "Please," she begged. "I'll end it. I'll never see him again. We can work through this." I laughed, and the sound was cold even to my own ears. "Work through this, Sarah. You're pregnant with another man's child. You spent months lying to my face, mocking me with your boyfriend, using our money to pay for your hotel rooms. What exactly are we working through? The baby could be yours. Stop." I held up a hand. Just stop. We haven't touched each other in 2 months. I've been keeping track. The truth hung between us like a blade. Sarah's last lie was bleeding out on our bedroom floor. "What do you want?" she whispered. "I want you to understand something," I said, sitting on the edge of our bed. "For months, you and Derek have been playing games with my life, laughing at me, pitying me, treating me like some pathetic fool who couldn't see what was right in front of him. Well, now it's my turn to play. Jake, please." "I'm not done yet, Sarah. Not even close." The next phase required patience. I waited until Derek's confidence returned, until he thought the worst was behind him. Then I struck. First, I sent every screenshot of their flirtatious messages to Derek's ex-girlfriend, a woman named Lisa, who still followed him on social media. Lisa's reaction was explosive. She showed up at his workplace screaming about cheaters and homewreckers, making a scene that got Derek written up again. Then I escalated to their families. Sarah's parents, devout Catholics who'd raised their daughter to value marriage and fidelity, received an anonymous package containing printed copies of every text message, every hotel receipt, every piece of evidence I'd collected. Sarah's phone rang at 6 a.m. the next morning. Her mother's voice carried across our bedroom, sharp with disappointment and fury. "How could you do this to Jake? To your marriage? To us?" I pretended to sleep while Sarah tried to explain herself, her voice breaking with each failed excuse. By noon, Sarah's entire family knew. By evening, half our town was whispering about the affair. Small towns are like that. Secrets spread faster than wildfire. Derek's world was collapsing too. His eviction notice arrived the same day his boss gave him a final warning about workplace conduct. His car still stank despite professional cleaning, and his reputation at the gym was permanently tarnished. But I saved the best for last. 3 weeks later, I orchestrated the final confrontation. It was Friday night at Murphy's Bar, our town's main gathering place. Half of Sarah's coworkers would be there, along with Derek and most of our mutual friends. I arrived early, positioning myself at the bar with a clear view of the entrance. When Sarah and Derek walked in separately, still trying to maintain appearances, I was ready. Derek approached the bar, ordering his usual beer with the swagger he somehow maintained despite everything falling apart around him. "Derek," I said, turning on my stool to face him. "Funny running into you here." He tensed, recognizing the threat in my voice even if he couldn't place it. "Jake." "Hey, man. How's work going?" I asked conversationally. "I heard you had some HR issues." His jaw tightened. "Nothing I can't handle." "And your apartment? Finding a new place yet?" Now he was catching on. His eyes narrowed, scanning the bar to see who might be listening. Good news for me. Everyone was. "You got something to say to me?" Derek asked, stepping closer. I smiled, pulling out my phone. With one tap, I started a recording app, the microphone picking up every word. "Just wondering how long you've been sleeping with my wife," I said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. The bar got quieter, not silent, never silent in a place like Murphy's, but quiet enough that conversations paused. Derek's face went red. "You're drunk, man. You don't know what you're talking about." "Room 12 at the Pineview Motor Inn," I continued. "Every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 4 months. Unless I'm wrong." Sarah appeared at Derek's shoulder, her face pale with panic. "Jake, stop. Not here." "Why not here?" I asked. "You weren't shy about discussing our marriage in that motel room. Remember what you said about me being safe and predictable?" Derek's hands clenched into fists. "Shut up. Or what? You'll punch me in front of all these witnesses? That would really help your professional situation." The crowd was fully engaged now, pretending not to stare while hanging on every word. "You want the truth?" Derek snapped, his temper finally boiling over. "Fine. Yeah, I've been seeing Sarah. She came to me, Jake. She was lonely, neglected, tired of being married to a boring computer nerd who couldn't satisfy her. Perfect. He just confessed to infidelity on recording in front of half our town. Interesting, I said. And the baby she's carrying? Whose is that? Sarah gasped. Jake, don't. Oh, everyone should know, I continued. My wife is pregnant and she swears it's mine, but we haven't been intimate in over 2 months, so either it's an immaculate conception, or Derek here has been more involved in our marriage than I realized. Derek's face went white as the implications sank in around us. Phones were coming out, conversations died completely. You're lying, he said weakly. Am I, Sarah? Want to tell everyone when we last shared a bed, or should I check the calendar I've been keeping? Sarah broke, tears streaming down her face. "Stop it, Jake, please, just stop." But I wasn't stopping, not after months of humiliation, of being played for a fool while they laughed behind my back. "Here's my favorite part," I continued, my voice carrying across the now silent bar. "I've been replacing Derek's Viagra with laxatives for weeks. Every romantic evening you two planned ended with him running for the bathroom. And those rubbers Sarah bought? I poked holes in every single one." The crowd murmured, some laughing despite the drama unfolding. Derek lunged at me, but I was ready. I stepped back, letting him swing at empty air, then helped him along with a little push that sent him stumbling into a table. "Attack in front of witnesses," I said calmly. "Your lawyer will love that." Sarah tried to grab Derek to pull him away, but he shoved her aside. She stumbled, nearly falling, and suddenly the crowd's sympathy shifted toward me. "Don't touch her," I said, stepping between them. "You've done enough damage." Derek was breathing hard, looking around at the crowd of faces staring at him with disgust and judgment. His reputation in this town was finished, and he knew it. "This isn't over," he snarled. "Yes, it is," I replied. "Unless you want me to share the videos I took of you two at the motel." That was a lie. I'd never recorded them directly, but Derek didn't know that. The color drained from his face. "You're bluffing." I smiled and said nothing. Sometimes silence is the most effective threat. Derek pushed through the crowd, heading for the exit. Sarah tried to follow, but I caught her arm. "Stay," I said. "Let's finish this conversation." She looked around at the crowd of people who'd known us for years, people who'd attended our wedding, who'd celebrated our anniversaries. Their faces showed disappointment, judgment, and in some cases disgust. "I can't," she whispered. "I can't do this here." "You started this here," I reminded her. "Every time you came home and lied to my face, you were doing this here, in our town, in front of our friends, in our marriage." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You got what you deserved, you pathetic piece of—" Derek, apparently sending threats from the parking lot. I held up my phone, showing the message to the crowd. "And now he's threatening me via text. Someone should probably mention this to the police." 3 people immediately pulled out their phones. Derek's threatening text would be reported within minutes. Sarah was sobbing now, mascara streaming down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she kept repeating. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry you got caught," I corrected. "Sorry your perfect plan fell apart. But not sorry for what you did. If you were sorry for that, you would have stopped months ago." Jenny appeared at Sarah's side, trying to offer comfort. I remembered our conversation at the coffee shop, her promise to stop enabling Sarah's lies. "Still covering for her?" I asked Jenny. She shook her head. "I tried to get her to tell you. I really did, Jake. Not hard enough." The crowd was starting to disperse, the show apparently over. But I had one more act planned. "Oh, Sarah," I called out as she headed toward the exit. "You should know. I've already contacted a lawyer about the divorce. And that pregnancy test you threw away last week, the one that showed negative, I found it." She stopped dead, turning to stare at me with horrified eyes. "That's right. You're not pregnant. Never were. Just another lie to try to manipulate me into staying." The final piece of her story crumbled. Even Jenny stepped away, realizing how deep the deception went. Sarah ran from the bar, leaving me standing in front of a crowd that now saw me as the wronged party, the sufferer who'd finally fought back. But I wasn't done. Not yet. 2 days later, Derek's car was found in the parking lot of a truck stop 50 miles away. He'd apparently left town without notice, abandoning his lease, his job, and his life here. Word spread that he'd been seen boarding a Greyhound bus headed south. Sarah tried coming home, tried explaining herself, tried begging for forgiveness. I listened to her plead from the other side of our locked front door, but I didn't let her in. "Jake, please," she sobbed. "I have nowhere to go. My parents won't talk to me. My friends won't answer my calls. I lost my job. I have nothing." "You should have thought of that before you decided to destroy our marriage," I replied through the door. "I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But it's over now. Derek's gone. We can start fresh. There is no we anymore, Sarah. There hasn't been for months." I heard her slide down the door, sitting on our front porch, crying. Neighbors were watching from their windows, witnessing the final act of our marriage's destruction. After an hour, she finally left. The divorce papers were filed the following Monday. Sarah didn't contest anything. She couldn't afford a lawyer, and she knew she had no ground to stand on. I kept the house, the car, the savings account. She kept her student loans and credit card debt. 6 months later, I was sitting in Murphy's bar again, having a beer and watching the football game. The bartender, Tommy, was wiping down glasses nearby. "Ever hear what happened to Derek?" he asked casually. "Nope," I replied, taking a sip. "Don't really care." "Word is he's washing dishes at some restaurant in Florida, living in a weekly motel, barely getting by." I nodded, filing that information away, but not commenting. "And Sarah, what about her?" "Heard she's working at a call center in Portland, living with 3 roommates in a studio apartment." I shrugged. "People make choices. Then they live with the consequences." Tommy nodded, understanding the subtext. "In a small town, everyone knows everyone's business." "You did what you had to do," he said quietly. "I did what they forced me to do," I corrected. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me, so I played the message. Sarah's voice, tired and defeated. "Jake, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to tell you something. Derek contacted me yesterday. He wants to get back together, says he's changed, but I told him no. I told him I finally understand what I lost when I lost you. I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I realize, now, what I had. What I threw away for nothing. I hope you find someone who appreciates you the way I should have. I hope you're happy." I deleted the message without finishing it. Some guys send flowers when they want revenge. Some hire lawyers or private investigators. Some key cars or slash tires. I prefer a more personal touch. A little creativity, a lot of patience, and the understanding that the best revenge isn't getting even. It's making sure they understand exactly what they lost, and exactly why they'll never get it back. I finished my beer, paid my tab, and walked out into the cold Maine evening. Behind me, Murphy's bar buzzed with conversation and laughter. Life going on as it always does. Tomorrow, I'd probably get another call from Sarah. Or maybe Derek would try to contact me. There might be more drama, more attempts to drag me back into their chaos. But tonight, I was free. Free of their lies, their manipulation, their toxic games. Free to build a life that didn't revolve around cleaning up someone else's mess. I got in my car and drove home to my quiet house where nobody was lying to me, where nobody was mocking me behind my back, where I could finally sleep peacefully. Some people might call what I did cruel. They might say I went too far, that I destroyed 2 lives over an affair. But they didn't live through months of deception. They didn't hear their spouse laughing about their inadequacies with her lover. They didn't find Viagra and rubbers in their wife's purse while being told there was no money for date nights. I gave Sarah and Derek exactly what they gave me, a masterclass in consequences. And honestly, I slept better than I had in years. Looking back, I don't feel triumph the way people might expect. I don't wake up every morning high-fiving myself in the mirror. Most days I just feel hollowed out, like someone scooped everything soft from my chest and left only sharp edges behind. I loved her. That's the part no one wants to hear. I loved the way Sarah laughed at stupid cat videos at 2 a.m., the way she stole the blankets and then apologized by making pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. I loved planning a future with her, kids, a bigger house, growing old on the porch we never got to build. I believed in us so completely that the first time I found that bottle of Viagra, my brain refused to process it. I actually stood there in the kitchen thinking maybe it was for me, maybe she was trying to surprise me. That's how deep the denial went. The revenge wasn't about proving I was smarter or crueler. It was the only way I could breathe again. Every laxative pill I swapped, every hole I poked, every anonymous email I sent was a gasp for air after months of drowning in her lies. I needed them to feel even a fraction of the helplessness I carried every time she kissed me goodbye and went to him. I needed the world to see them the way I saw them, small, selfish, cowardly. But here's what no one tells you about perfect revenge. It doesn't heal anything. It just turns the pain outward for a while. When it circles back, and it always does, you're still alone in a quiet house that smells like someone who isn't coming home. Victory tastes like cold coffee and silence. Sometimes I catch myself setting 2 mugs on the counter out of habit. Sometimes I still check my phone for goodnight texts that will never come. I won. I really did. And yet some nights I sit on that unfinished porch with a beer I don't taste, wondering if the man she destroyed ever actually came back, or if all that's left is the weapon I became to survive her. I'm free now. I just never figured out where to put the pieces of the man I used to be.